Hi, it's Graham from Concept Music here again, and today we're going to have a chat to a couple of my staff. And I feel very surreal introducing Alex and Simone in the sense that I think it'd be pretty unusual in a global context to have a staff member come and say, "Hey, Graham, can I have some leave to play in Eurovision?"
Yeah.
Let alone two staff. So let me start off this little chat by saying your leave's been approved.
Thank God.
So you are off to Eurovision.
Eurovision, we're coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
But I feel very, very privileged to be part of both your journeys. Alex for over 10 years now, as in working here for over 10 years, and Simone started here last year. But I think it probably goes right back to like you were about this high. So yes, I want to talk about Eurovision, but I thought I might start with Alex and Simone, how you got started in music. What age, did you start on your instruments that you play now? What age were you? Was there a family environment that encouraged you?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Well, it all started with my dad coming into concept music.
And this is true, by the way.
True story. In what, like 82 or something like that? Maybe 83.
The shop opened in 1980.
Yeah.
And your dad was one of the very, very early customers.
Yeah. And he told me after I got this job, he was like, "Man, I'm so jealous of you." Like in some way, like that was the dream job back then. Everyone wanted to work in the guitar shop. And yeah, so my dad was a bass player through the 80s. I still have, I think, maybe a Boss flanger with the old concept music sticker on it.
Yeah, I remember him showing me that.
Yes. So his gear being at home with us was kind of, I guess, the seed, I guess, that started it all. He would read
natural.
Well, he would read me bedtime stories as a child, but he would get his vintage bass out, and like, "Will the spell be broken?" And he'd play some like diminished line on the bass, and I was like, "Ooh!" As a kid, it was great.
Wow.
So when I reached high school age and I really started to become interested in music, I wanted to be a drummer first and foremost, but I missed the boat on that. Got into Perth Mod School, which we both went to, and I just started to be interested in it independently of any music program. Started jamming with my friends. Hey, my dad's got a bass under the bed. Let's grab that out. And then I just kind of became more enthusiastic and pursued it in my bedroom, basically from 2001 until now.
Wow. Okay, so bass has been your instrument all the way along. Guitar came later, and
no, actually, yeah. So while I feel like in my heart, it's funny. There's different layers of identity, being, I guess, a multi-instrumentalist, because I fell in love with music through drums. Like that, my earliest memory is hearing drums and my friend playing drums in the year 5 assembly at school. And I think I just became so jealous, and it just like something about it just stirred me, and I loved it. Dad had the bass, so in year 8 I started playing that, and thankfully he actually said about 8 months later for my birthday, he's like, "Why don't we get you a guitar for your birthday?"
Oh, okay.
So he bought me a Squire Bullet pack, which we still sell, every Christmas here and all throughout the year. And that's such an awesome thing for me to be able to sell young beginners, because I'm like, this is exactly what got me going. It's all you need. And I would just alternate between the two. I'd learn my favorite albums on bass, and then I'd learn them on guitar when I got bored of the bass. And actually that ping-ponging from instruments helped keep me interested long term. Yeah. Instead of just frying out my interest on one instrument and having nothing and just abandoning it, I was able to learn something on guitar, which then I could transition back into bass later on, especially fingerstyle, acoustic, classical. I just figured it out myself, and it was just so fun, and I still love that. Like I don't think I'll ever lose that passion.
Good. I think you're right.
It's beautiful. I'm so thankful.
It's something that never goes away.
No.
Yeah.
What about you?
Me?
Simone?
Well,
what age and what was the environment of the trigger?
Music's been in my family as well since I've just been a little kid. My dad played in various country rock bands when we were still in Scotland, and my mum was actually a singer as well when she was younger. Just kind of gave that up, obviously, with me coming along.
As mothers do.
Yeah, but I was surrounded by music. Like my parents always had music playing in the house, massive David Bowie fans. And my dad was, funnily enough, a drummer as well. And drums was also what I wanted to play when I was first sort of getting into music. I used to sort of drum on any sort of object that would be around in my room growing up.
Yeah.
Then my parents got me like a little Casio keyboard, I think,
Yeah.
when we first came to Australia when I was like 7 or 8.
Right.
So I used to
We're still claiming you as Australian, by the way.
Yeah,
so let's-
Yeah.
Just out
look,
there. She's
I've been here most of my life, so. But yeah, I used to just make up silly songs with that because, you got the presets and everything, which drive us all nuts at work.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so I used to play along with that. And then I was really lucky, and I think coming to Australia was a big part of that. I was able to gain a music scholarship at John Forrest Senior High School when I was in year 6.
Yep.
Because I showed an aptitude for music. And again, it was like, I want to do drums, but they were like, nah, only got percussion. So then it was like, okay, classical guitar. Didn't really want to do classical guitar, but looking back now, I'm so glad that I did do classical guitar because it has given me really good technique and just a lot of skills that I could transfer over onto my electric guitar. And yeah, as soon as I started doing classical and started realizing, hey, I can do this after a while of Mary Had a Little Lamb and all the stuff you hate playing. And then I started like getting chords and I'm like, okay, then it was Nirvana, then it was Metallica. And then my classical guitar teacher was having a nervous breakdown because another one of his students was doing
Lost to the grunge movement.
Lost to metal.
Yeah.
Not another one.
And so it's like I just kind of hit the ground running from there. When I picked up the electric guitar and sort of met all these wonderful people. But yeah, if it wasn't for my parents,
Do you remember your first electric guitar?
Yeah, it was it was called an Encore. It was from Scotland. My parents got it for me when I was I would have been 8 years old. They bought that for me in Scotland as my first guitar, and I just used that as a guitar to modify and play around with. It was not the greatest guitar to play. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was this bright red thing that looked like a Strat copy. But I learned everything that I know on that guitar. So I learned how to fix restring, change pickups out of it, and do all of that sort of stuff. So
You went quite deep then.
Yeah. More so when I was younger. More into just playing the guitar now.
Yeah. So so that was through high school. I mean, we'll get into Eurovision in a minute, but back to Voyager, they've been around since 1999. So when did you first hear of Voyager? When did you first get in? I think you joined the band before Alex.
Yeah.
Or around the same kind of time.
Yeah, look, I used to go and see them live at Amplify Bar and a lot of other gigs because I was in another band at the time, a sort of more thrash metal sort of band. And I remember the first time seeing them, I was just like, I want to be in this band. I just knew they just had something kind of unique and special about them that no one else was really doing. It had this really melodic, catchy, poppy choruses still going on, even back then when they were a bit more power metal. And just high energy, really entertaining, just really interesting music. And I know, obviously, I really liked the guys as well. I was friends with them. So, I used to watch them heaps, and I was just very lucky that I happened to be friends and got the nudge.
Not what you know, who you know. You want to come and have a jam.
Yeah, pretty much.
Almost like
I was
that.
very, very lucky. And I've just never looked back from that. It was the best decision I ever made was joining Voyager.
Because that's a good 15.
Yeah, it was 2005.
15 years ago?
It was 2005 I joined, end of 2005.
18 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time. It's the longest relationship I've been in. That's what I always say. So and it's still, I would say it's still pretty happy for the most part.
It's surprising. It's actually surprising sometimes.
I beat the bass players.
Yeah.
Since he cut his hair. You know.
I cut it. Yeah, willfully. Yeah.
What about you, Al?
I was in high school. Yeah, I saw Voyager in 2003 at an all-ages show at the skate park in Leederville. I distinctly remember the same thing. You see all these other bands. I think it was part of a Kiss My Whammy showcase thing.
Right.
It was the only all-ages show that Voyager had ever really done. And I was always going to the all-age death metal shows and it was very heavy stuff compared to Voyager. But Voyager had this crazy, long-haired like dude that had 2 Korg Triton keyboards playing everything. And I remember like seeing him do this with the keyboard. I'm like, what the hell is that guy doing? What is that he's doing? It's like, oh, it's a modulation kind of like, he's bending the notes and stuff. And I was just captivated. And I could really tell there was this distinct feeling about Voyager. Even back then they're like, these guys are going to go somewhere. Like you could tell. I'm not sure what it was.
No, I don't know if it was Danny or like what, but it was just something
about it was
magical
put
about it.
together better than other bands that they were around. And I think it was maybe it was the complexity of the music, or it was just the show, like the showmanship. Everyone was still like they're all about projecting, and that
Having
was
fun.
Yeah, that was such a cool example to see. I was like 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. They fast forward a few years. I come up in the metal scene. I end up meeting Simone. And end up hanging out. Like we became like really close.
Yeah.
And then I joined Simone's other band, Psychonaut, which was more of a death rock thing.
Yeah. Kind of heavy Kiss, really.
Yeah. So I became the bass player for that band, who also happens to have the guitarist from Voyager as well.
Yeah, the old one.
Mark DeVatamo.
Right.
So I'm in a band with the 2 Voyager guitarists, and all while this is happening, I'm kind of slowly start to like be absorbed into that friend group, I guess. So I start to know people in Voyager.
Yeah.
I start
and it's
doing
not
that,
unusual for, even now, for guys to come in, they're playing in 3 or 4.
No.
It's cross-pollination
bands,
of musicians. Yeah. So I was helping Simone load her gear. I was helping the drummer load his gear into the Voyager shows. A lot of them I wasn't of age, I shouldn't have been there. I just sneak in. I was doing lights for Voyager for a while.
Right.
And then I always sensed this. I kind of knew that Voyager was on the up. And I remember hearing, you showed me like pre-prod demos of the Universe album, which is Voyager's 2nd album. And I was like, wow, this is so good. Something about it tweaked in my brain. I'm like, I need to position myself to be the only possible choice for this band. Even then I was like 17, 18. And I was like, I'm going to learn the entire Voyager back catalogue.
Wow.
And I did. I just sat down with my CD player.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah.
That's how I used to learn stuff. Learned all of the first album, and then all of the second album, which I had special access to. When the time came, it's like, we need another bass player. I'm like, me. And I went in there and I was like, which song do you want to play? Because I know them all. And I was kind of like, whoa, okay. And I made sure that they didn't need to audition anyone else.
To be fair, I think you were pretty safe.
Yeah, well, I like to think
automatic.
There isn't, while there is definitely like positions of privilege and.
Oh, but your skill, like,
honestly,
honestly,
exactly. If I
if
didn't have
you
that,
weren't capable,
you wouldn't.
If I was like, oh, what's that? Then no.
You would have still been doing the lights.
But you went above and beyond.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. We need good lighting people. But it's more fun on stage.
Definitely.
How's the music changes then? Because if you look up Wiki or something, everybody calls you a heavy metal band. It's all historically heavy metal. Well, now maybe they're calling it synth pop, but it's very hard for me to put a box on it, particularly when I listen to your, where you're going with Eurovision.
Yeah.
I don't hear heavy metal. I don't even know if I hear heavy.
It's well, the Eurovision song is actually in drop G.
Yeah.
So
drop G.
Yeah.
Drop G. Yep.
So it's low.
We've got 7 strings.
Hence the Ernie Ball Power Slinky 5 sets. 135 gauge. Yep.
Yep. And the slinky top, heavy bottoms.
I think that's like, I love that you don't think that it is like super heavy, because it means that we've kind of like, we've tailored the song.
And is that a directional change for the entire band? With you've written a song for Eurovision, and you've all been involved in writing it. But the rest of your catalogue, is it? Would you identify it like?
It's definitely still heavier than I mean, there's a few songs on our upcoming record that have got some real crushing moments. So I would say it's we've become a lot more dynamic, I think, over the years. Like, I think we actually had a lot more guitar, like it was more guitar heavy before, whereas now we know when to go, not, okay, this doesn't need guitars. You can just have bass and drums in this bit. Or maybe it just needs to just be Danny and keys. So we've gotten better at like stripping back and knowing when to actually punch in with the heavy stuff. So you're like, whoa, and you really feel the impact now. Whereas I think we were all, when we were younger, like you just want to just have
go
everything.
for it.
You just want to riff,
It's
right?
like everyone playing at 11, everyone playing at once, just like, get your parts in.
Get your parts in.
And now you don't have to do that.
No, now it's like the song is important. You know, it's really like we're really right for the song. And I actually think doing Eurovision really informed a lot of that as well, because it was really eye-opening to try and condense everything about your music in 3 minutes.
Yeah, into a couple of minutes.
Such a task.
When did Eurovision become a discussion in the band? You know, like, because you've toured Europe a lot, you've got a good following in Germany and Europe, so you've done a lot of successful tours. Was it that triggered, I reckon we could do Eurovision, or was it watching it as a kid? When did we could do Eurovision become an idea that?
Yeah, Danny had really driven. Danny, the singer, he's like, he's the longest running Eurovision fan, being from Germany. Being born just outside of Hamburg. So as Australians, it's like Eurovision. It's not even a thing.
It's that weird show with the weird lights.
ABBA, cool. Yeah. It's like you wouldn't even think of it as an option. Yeah. So once Australia was able to be included in that 2015, we just started. I think we just started a hashtag.
Yeah,
you know,
people were saying, coming up and saying, of course, because Danny would go to like a lot of the Eurovision parties and stuff like that, and he had like lots of people coming up saying, "Why do you guys go for it?" Like now that,
because it's a massive. I mean, even in Australia, it's big now.
It is,
It's massive.
It's now that I'm in the weeds with it a bit more, and we're like, you know, we can take a peek behind the curtain. It's like I don't know. It can't be understated. Like in May, like if we get through the grand final, so we're in the semi-final too, right?
I was gonna ask that.
So that's a cool 5 million people watching that. And if we get through to the grand final, it's anywhere between 160 to 180 million people watching us.
You sort of almost can't think about that.
No,
don't think about that.
It doesn't even compute almost, does it?
Yeah, because you can't comprehend those numbers.
No. And it makes like, I don't know. This is like, for me, this is the magic behind music, right? Because music is almost like the way I've chosen to express what I feel and hear and hear. And when you think about like, okay, so 180 million people versus the 60 people I played to on St. Patrick's Day this Sunday. Yeah. You know, like I love both. Like it doesn't matter. Like the fact that I'm doing the music is what's really special, and the juxtaposition between the sheer just crazy number of people absorbing it. I kind of like that you can, you know, I can get satisfaction from both.
And I mean, it's truly once in a lifetime kind of experience, isn't it? Which, you know, the 14-year-old kid watching Voyager on stage at the the free gig, they're like, one day I'm going to play with them. That would have been a big dream in itself.
Never would have imagined it. Like
So it's funny because like obviously we've been doing a lot of interviews like recently, and I like that the interview process has forced me to think about it more. Right. Yeah. To just kind of just like sit and think about the answers that maybe are given, and sometimes the answers change a little bit depending on how much I've thought about it. I've been saying that like Eurovision is the chance that every musician in their bedroom dreams of. This is if only I had one gig with my band and just one gig that I could just get to the right people.
Gig.
And with big production and
huge
really
production.
put on the show that we've always wanted to put on.
There'd be one moment and the record company would come up and they'd sign us, and you know, like just the dream come true moment. And every like, you know, and being here, we're surrounded by it in the daily. These people, everywhere we have this shared dream of like performance, and I just didn't know that Eurovision was going to be that chance.
No. What I love about being in this shop environment is watching you guys serve people who, or Abby or Simon or Claudia, and but they don't know who they are. Because they're coming here to buy a guitar and they're nervous about it. And then after the sale, sometimes I'll hear them say, "So do you play in a band?"
Yeah.
It's the best.
And it's like, oh my God, because they don't come in expecting that. And it's so nice, as we all know, to be in the moment with someone starting a musical journey. It's like you with your Encore red guitar.
Yep.
That was a moment. You pulling out your dad's Vantage bass. That was a moment.
Because it sticks with you, doesn't it?
It does.
That's almost like that's the core of your musician.
That's maybe sliding doors almost. It's like that's where I got
It's
started.
the same when I'm selling some of the classical guitars. I'm just
Yeah.
like, this is what I started out on.
All of a sudden you're back at 13
and you're
going,
just like,
my fingers hurt.
now I'm kind of passing that journey on to, you're right, you're 100% right. It's like, I'm passing the flag on to you now. You're going to do exactly what I went through, and it's just
which is an awesome gig, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not as awesome as playing Eurovision, but it's an awesome
it's
gig.
still rewarding.
Yeah. Well,
It's all part of it,
you
isn't
mentioned
it?
your
Yeah.
new album, so are you allowed to talk about that? Can we
Yeah.
get a word in for the new album?
Yeah, I don't think we haven't released the title yet or the release date, but very soon.
Yeah.
Oh,
very
cool.
A lot
soon
sooner
after
than
we-
we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, you've been pushed now.
We're so excited about it. We took the lessons of Australia Decides Eurovision, put it into the making of this album. So,
And will Dreamer and Promise be on the album? They'll both be on the album.
So
Cool.
it makes for a really interesting listen. Like Simone was saying before, there's some really heavy, crushing moments on it, but there's also some really uplifting moments. And
Submarine.
we kind of keep refining the Voyager sound.
Yeah. Which is cool, because if those tracks, Eurovision, attract people to the album, it also educates them to a different genre.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
I mean, even our Spotify listeners have jumped up by 200,000 people. It's in
Who are these guys?
in the last month?
Yeah.
And it's surreal to think about this huge growth, but what's so good is it's almost like we've done our homework for the last 18 years.
Well, I was
or
going to
something.
say, it's not like it happened. We started this band last week and we're in Eurovision now.
And
No.
then
You've been
how do we deal
honing
with
this for the last decade and a
I'm
half.
so glad we've got that experience under our belt, because it's full on, and it's a bit different
I
doing
can't
TV.
imagine.
It's
Yeah.
it's the media side of
Yeah.
it is woo, it's pretty intense, but I'm glad.
I'm super excited, and it feels surreal even for me, sitting here talking to people going, a couple of my staff are going to Europe to play in Eurovision. It's like,
Yeah.
it feels surreal for me. It's
Huh?
like, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
So we can only wish you all the very, very super excited for you. Can't wait to
Thanks, guys.
tune in and turn on and follow it, and can't wait for the new album, of course. And would love to have another chat
afterwards.
in a few months.
How was it?
Yeah.
Now it's down
be
here.
fun.
and hope you're still wearing a concert music t-shirt sometimes. They don't end up in the wash.
We can wear it on stage at the.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I can sponsor the band I'll sponsor the band with t-shirts. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks very much for sitting down and having a chat.
Thanks for having us, Gra.
Yeah, and again, congratulations and good luck.
And thanks. So you're seeing us on Eurovision because Gra approved our leave request.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Gra.
he's the real hero.
Yeah, great.